All right, all right. Welcome. How's everybody doing? Here we are, another Gap Mastermind. And boy, am I excited about this one today. We'll get into our special guest and the fire that he's gonna bring in a little bit. Just wanted to see. I know. Rebecca is around, and Gil, and I see some of the hustlers. Got Carla in the house, Danny Bittencourt. Always good to see you, Alex. Wait, what's up, Jenny? Good to see you, Jenny. Let's get some cameras on, guys. You want me to see you? I gotta get your big camera. Matt, good to see you, Matt. Newly joined Matt. He's been with us a few weeks now. Super pumped to have you. We got Q International in the house, Houston in the house. All right, man. This is building up, and we're here every week. We get together to mastermind on how to take our business to the next level. It's all about growth, action, and production, right? So the people that are in this call are people that are growth oriented. We're focusing on winning, on taking advantage of opportunities, on taking advantage of market shifts, and we take action on what is shared over here to take our business to the next level and increase our production. So if this is your first time, welcome. And we're here every Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, and you do the math from there out. But Rebecca, Gil, any words before we get started today?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Well, I just want to give a shout out to all new agents. I'm just curious on the call right now, if you are a new agent, can you just type new in the chat box? And we want to welcome you to the Global Alliance. And also another shout out to our West Coast agents that are tuning in, Central, East Coast. If you are in any one of those time zones, would you just type in the chat box, West Coast, Central, East? And I heard we have some Canadians joining us on this call as well. So welcome to our Canadian friends. We're excited to have you here today. That's all I guess I got for me.
Hey man, I'm not going to take any time away from Russ, man. I am here with my notebook ready to fill up some notes. Russ is going to be dropping off some legendary pieces. So I'm excited to be a student, man. I feel new. I feel like we got this opportunity to kind of learn, and it's exciting, and there's going to be new opportunities. And it's time. This is the time when people start to blow up, and I can't wait to see who those next people are. So, Russ, the man in the vest. Carlos, if you want to give him his intro, let's go.
Yeah, we'll hype him up a little bit. I mean, obviously, we've had Russ before with us in the Global Alliance, and he always absolutely crushes it. So when we saw,
one of my favorites,
the shift in the market with the NAR settlement, and us having to make sure we stay in the right mindset so we can continue to win. He was the first name that Gil and I and Rebecca came to mind and said, "This is the kind of guy we need sharing with us and empowering us to what lies ahead." Russ is our regional director of growth with eXp Realty, one of the leadership team that allows us and helps us grow the company. He's been with other brokerages in big leadership roles and has helped grow those brokerages in leaps and bounds. And, he's definitely been someone that has focused on education, coaching, training, has been a top team leader, broker. Like, he brings it with a vast experience, being one of us, being high leadership, being somebody that has grown big companies, and he's here helping us grow eXp and helping us grow our own businesses today. So Russ, without further ado, take it away, my friend.
All right, guys, thank you very much for that. I appreciate the introduction. Guys, like, you don't wake up in the morning and you're like, be awesome. You just wake up in the morning and you do what you do, right? And that's like, you just got to find what you can control and what you can't control every single day. So let's dive right into a couple things that are super important, because I want to make sure we get our brains right. And bear with me if I'm looking around weird. And I've got new glasses and they're starting to go some tint from some sunshine. We don't get sunshine in Michigan, so I think my glasses are freaking out here. But the first thing I want to make sure we're talking about all the time is the mindset, right? In the most challenging times in every industry and every business is when the biggest opportunities arrive. Okay. So here's the one thing I know for fact. I can control what I'm seeing. I can control what I'm hearing. I can control what I'm saying, and I can control what I'm doing. What NAR does is on them. What other companies do is on them. What other people are doing is on them, but I can control the stuff that I'm controlling, right? So I want to make sure you guys get really clear on what's controllable. So if there's anything that pops into your field of vision or your sphere of what you're looking at, and you start to say, hey guys, holy crap, are you seeing this happen? The next question would be like, okay, what can I control, right? Listen, sometimes the only thing we can control is our reaction to something. Because you can take the same person, you have two different people see the same exact thing happen, and one will say, oh my God, that's horrible. And the other will say, oh my God, this is an amazing opportunity. Two different people looking at the same exact thing. One sees a disaster, the other sees an opportunity. You know, so I want you to understand that there's these moments in your life where you just got to take a breath. And I want you guys to start implementing this technique. If you start getting freaked out a little bit, this is a really, really great technique. Just a count down from 5. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath in, let a deep breath out, and then focus on a solution. So here's the reason why you want to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Because when you see something and something happens, we automatically get this engagement in this little chemistry experiment we call our brain. We get this engagement thing, and there's this chemistry thing goes in your head, right? And then you're completely out of control because it literally is things and chemicals in your brain make you react, right? It'll make you react either physically sometimes. You ever see something that scares you and that like get goosebumps up the back of your neck, right? That's just chemistry, guys, right? So what happens is if we're having an emotional reaction or a physical reaction to something, in order for you to stop that and start thinking rational and using the factual part of your brain, counting down from 5 makes your brain do something different. It makes it think with the structured linear part of your brain. It goes into the factual side of your brain, right? So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now I'm going to focus on a solution. If you don't do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're going to try to focus on a solution from a position of emotional, from a position of chemical. And a lot of times you have those solutions go something like this. And you'll see boys do this more often. Something happens, and then we want to punch something in the face. Right? It's like emotion goes, making a decision while that emotion is engaged can give you some really, really bad results sometimes, right? So sometimes just that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now you're making a rational decision, not a chemistry decision, okay? So writing down a list of the things that are controllable and not controllable is super important for you guys right now. I think there's a lot of things that are really controllable right now that we're not focused on. And there's things that are not controllable that we are focused on, okay? So let's be super, super clear. There's 2 real things that happen with NAR, and I'm going to touch base on it really simple, really easy, quick, and then we're going to move on to something that's more tractionable for you guys, okay? Number 1, you're going to need to have a buyer's brokerage agreement signed, most likely by July. You're going to have to be using a buyer's brokerage agreement with every single buyer you work with. You have to have a clear contract, basically showing a clear agreement showing that you are working with them, they are working with you, and it delineates what's happening, including what the commission is, okay? And by the way, guys, if you haven't been using one of those already, this is just good business practice, right? So with that being said, it's going to be required, okay? The second thing is that the MLS is not going to be able to advertise what the commission rate is or co-op rate is going to be. And how that's going to play out, nobody knows. Are there a lot of guesses? Yes. But here's the one thing that I know about our industry. If you build a rule, somebody will find a sneaky way around it. This is a very creative group. Okay, just the whole industry is super creative. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a barricade up, right? And then people will be like, well, I can go over the barricade. I can go around the barricade. I can go around the barricade the other direction. And then Carlos German's like, dude, we're tunnel making. And he'll dig a tunnel under that thing. Right, guys, there are a bunch of solutions that are going to be in the works. And it's just a matter of figuring out which one is going to be the simplest and which one's going to get the most traction. Are our commissions going away? The answer is no. Is it going to change a little bit? Absolutely, yes. So there's a couple things that we can start doing now. Thank God. There's some things we can do now that are controllable. Okay. And I want to go through some of those things so that you guys have your feet on the ground, ready to rock and roll. And you guys are going to feel like you're ahead of the curve. There's something that's super powerful to know, guys. In the next 2, 3, 4 months, you're either going to be blazing a trail and you're going to become a leader in the industry, or you're going to be left behind. And it's the ones that are going to sit down and learn the skill set and develop the skill set and build the skill set. And by the way, the ones that tell the story the best, even if they don't have the best skill set, if they just tell the story the best, those are the ones that are going to accelerate through this business. So what's going to happen is there's going to be some polarization going on in the real estate industry. The good news for you guys is, yes, storytelling, exactly, Mike. So the great part for you guys is that you are surrounding yourselves with people that are great at telling the story, great at leading you, and great at being a part of the solution and making sure you're getting good stuff so you can move the ball forward. Okay, so there's a couple of things I want to dig into you guys with specifically. Okay, right now, more than any other time in the industry, I want you guys to start thinking tribal. I want you to start thinking tribal, right? And this is what Carlos and Rebecca invited me over for, right? Because they're building their tribe, right? You got Gil Ramos, he's part of the tribe, part of the clan. You got Michael Collier, part of the tribe, part of the clan, right? Guys, right now, the people that are standing up and getting really clear on what their tribe is are going to have people flocking to them. We've seen real statistic. Do you know Leo Pareja and Holly Mabry did a special session on Monday last week just to talk through what was going on in NAR? 52,000 people were on that at one point. Guys, if you get 1,000, 1,500 on something you do, that's pretty baller, right? You get 10,000 people, that's next level stuff. This is 5 times next level. So are there people out there that are wanting and dying for leadership and wanting to hear how the story is told and have someone to align with? You're damn right there is. So that means 2 things, right? Number 1, if you guys still want to sell some houses, guess what? The ones that are telling the story and making people feel comfortable and making people feel like you are their expert and feel like you know what's going on and feel like you have a clear path for them to be successful, those people are going to accelerate in this market tenfold. The ones that are like, well, we're just waiting to see what happens. Not the story you can tell. Right now, are there things I can do? Yes, there are things I can do. So let's get really clear. I've got 3 things you guys can do. And by doing this yourself and telling the story of what you're doing with this, you're going to also be able to start building your tribe and adding to your tribe and making your tribe feel like they have an identity, right? You guys ever see like any of the old Indian stuff from Texas? Like you see some of these crazy maps and you see all of these different tribes, right? So it's kind of interesting. I was at a session with a person in a town called Fredericksburg, or outside of Fredericksburg, which is like southwest of Austin. And we're at this beautiful retreat center, and the guy's talking through, and he's an Indian shaman, just an interesting guy talking through a story. And he says, we are on the land of the Kickapoo people, part of the Cherokee Nation, and he goes through this. And I'm like, hey, wait a second, hang on. What did he just say? Because like it didn't really make sense, but it was the first time it actually popped into my head going, wait a second. The Kickapoo tribe was part of the Cherokee Nation, which was a tribe, right? So you have tribes within tribes. Guys, this has been going on for eternity. You have tribes within tribes. So what happens is I've got my little tribe, and Carlos, there's only like 14 or 15 of us, right? And you've got your tribe, and there's 25 or 30 of you, and Gil's got his tribe, and there's 40 or 50 of them, and Mike's got his, and Rebecca's got hers. And it's like, okay, guys, listen, we'll fight amongst each other. That's what tribes do, right? I'll throw a rock at you, you throw a rock at me, right? And then, but if anybody comes at any of us, we band together. You guys ever see how brothers work? I have 3 brothers, right? Here's how it worked in our house. My brothers and I, it was dogfight nonstop. It was 4 boys within 5 years, okay? So currently, we are 53, 52, 51, and 50. I'm sorry, and 49. 4 boys within 5 years, right? So it was always 2 on 2, almost always 2 on 2. And it was Mike against Russ, and Russ against Dan, and Dan against Chuck, and Chuck would dive in on Mike, and then Mike and Chuck would be against Russ and Dan and Russ would be against Mike and Chuck, and then Mike and Dan would bond together, which happened once a year, right? And when those 2 got together, it was real bedlam. things got broken. Okay. But here's the thing. When the Sweeting boys down the street picked on any one of us, it was 4-on-1. And then it was 4-on-2, because then Matt would jump in and Steven would jump in and then Mike would jump in. And next thing you know, it's the 3 Sweeting brothers and the 4 Laggan brothers. And we go out there and just open up the can, right? But like, I would beat my brother Mike mercilessly, but as soon as somebody else touched him, that's my enemy, right? So guys, when we're looking at this tribal thing, I'm not saying go out there and pick fights, but what I'm saying is we got to start saying, how do I collaborate and how do I work together? And when do I work together? And there's times in business where we're opposite sides of things. But what you will find is that you're going to find there's a lot more tribalism going on right now across the industry, because we're all kind of going against the same thing. So while different brokerages and different brands and different people and different groups and different tribes within those groups, typically we're going different directions, doing different things, we're all kind of facing the same direction right now, saying, hey, we've all got to go this direction. So right now is a great time for you to be putting out your hand for collaboration. I don't care what tribe you're in. Right now, I'm going to talk to you guys, right? I don't care what tribe I'm in. If somebody puts their hand up and says, I need help, I'll be the one to be first jumping on to help. When Carlos and Rebecca reached out, what was my response? Heck yeah, I love doing this stuff, right? So what I want you guys to start thinking is start adding value to the market. This is the #1 key to what we're doing right now in shifting in what's going on now. The real estate industry in general does a lot of look at me stuff. We as an industry do a lot of look at me stuff. We as an industry in social do a lot of look at me stuff. And what I want you guys to start thinking is I want you to start focusing intently on shifting the conversation to how can I add value? How can I add value? Every instance in every relationship and every interaction, whether it's with a real estate agent or it's with the public, I want you to start thinking, how can I add value? And by the way, all of the things that I'm going to send to my sphere of influence for house sales, I'm going to send all of that stuff to every realtor I know also. Because here's the thing, guys, I know for fact, absolute fact, because I keep hearing this coming up from various people in my world, right? And I've got a real fun response for this. I get the call and something like, I just don't really know what's going on. What does this really mean? They're calling me. They're not in my brand. And they're calling me because they know I'll give them a straight answer, right? And my first things first is say, okay, what is the biggest challenge right now? And they're like, well, I'm freaked out. Am I even going to have a job in 6 months? Well, yes, absolutely. But you're going to have to learn a couple of things to be able to move the ball forward. The only 2 things that changed are this and this. If you don't know exactly what that means, let's break this down a little bit. Can you see a couple of social media posts just for that? Guys, if you don't know the 2 things that are happening right now, we need to talk. Reach out to me. I can explain it to you. And what you want to do is you want to keep it as simple as possible. Simple and positive, and with strategic items that they can build into their business to take their business to the next level, okay? Thinking again, tribal. You got somebody walking along and you're like, you don't know where you're going? Jump on with us. We're going that direction too. Let's go. Join our tribe and hang out. I'm going to add value over and over and over, and I'm going to find that people are going to start to actually want to hang out with us more often. What we're going to find is that the people start showing up. They don't just hang around the edge of the tribe. Now they start contributing, which is pretty cool, okay? So first things first, if there's any one thing that we can do, and by the way, from a doing business yourself and from an attraction standpoint, one thing we can be doing is let's make a list. Every single one of you guys should have these things and parts and pieces in place. And by the way, if you didn't catch the announcement on Friday, there is a new buyer brokerage package or buyer presentation package that EXP put out. If you go into EXP Workplace and type in what do they call it? Buyer toolkit. There you go. Buyer tool. I knew it was going to pop out of my head eventually, right? Buyer toolkit. Okay. The buyer toolkit, go in Workplace, type in buyer toolkit. If you happen to not be with EXP and you're on here right now, ask somebody in there to get you a copy of the buyer toolkit. And what it does is it's going to help you with building out a list of getting really clear on what we do. So here's the thing, guys. A huge portion and a huge part of why we have the problem that we have is the average person in the public doesn't really know what we do. When I'm talking to my very well-off accountant who helps me with my meager accounting issues, and he's got 7 or 8 really cool cars, including a couple of Ferraris and so forth. He's done pretty good for himself. And I've known the guy for a bunch of years. And he's asking me questions like he's a 3-year-old about the real estate business. He's like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I was like, dude, you've bought and sold a couple of houses. He's like, yeah, but I didn't know that. I said, well, that's because you didn't have me as your realtor. I would have explained it to you. Guys, there's a lot of times when we just got to put together a list of all of the things that we do. And I want you to do it on the buy side, and I want you to do it on the sell side. And when you get yours packaged up nice and pretty, I want you guys to make sure you let everybody else know. Guys, if you don't have a list together, let me know. I'll give you mine. Some of you guys are like, why would you give away your stuff, Russ? Because guys, I'm building a sense of collaboration, right? See, here's the thing. I know if I give Carlos everything that I've got and he and I go side by side out in the market, Carlos has his own people and he has his own tribe, right? He's got that confusing German tribe. You're like, wait a minute. He's not actually German, is he? No. Really confusing. It's subterfuge, right? It's a sneak attack program, okay? But he's got his own tribe, right? And then Carlos has his own tribe. So he has his own tribe. I have my own tribe. And what happens is the people that know me, like me, and trust me are going to do business with me. They're not doing business with Carlos. The people that know, like, and trust him are going to do business with him, right? His tribe is a little bit different than mine. Do we have a lot of similarities? Sure. We're both amazingly good looking, super articulate. No, I'm kidding. We have our own stuff and our own flavor, right? And we got to be celebrating that. And here's the thing, guys. I'm going to tell my story my way. And there's some people who go, Russ, I can't talk to somebody that talks at 234 words per minute. You just talk too damn fast for me. And there's other people who say, well, you talk too slow for me. So we got to find the fast talking people talk to the fast talking people and slow talk people talk to slow. But there's all of these various things that are just part of who we are that make people want to be attracted to me or attracted to you or attracted to whomever, right? And we've got to celebrate those things. Do I need to be everything to everyone? No. I want to get really clear. This is what my tribe is. This is what my feel is. This is what my system is. These are my people. This is what I do. I told this story a bunch about my early days in the real estate business. I started finding out, guys, that the majority of the business I was doing was with people that I mountain bike with. I'm like, wait a second. Like, how many of you guys mountain bike 3 times a week? Yeah, I didn't think so, right? So is that a tribe? Yeah, right? So then I had to become really intentional with it. And next thing you know, I found out that the Swamp Mountain Biking Club guys outside of Tampa, they had 700 plus members in Swamp Mountain Biking Club. It's like, who's their go-to messed up realtor of choice, right? So we've got to start saying, how do I build my tribe and build my flavor and build my thing, doing the things I love? And then in the process of doing that, you're going to start building out a list, and your list is going to have some unique things that you do that are uniquely you. There's going to be a lot of crossover. Listen, guys, we all have a listing presentation. We all have we all stick it in the IDX. There's a lot of similarities, but then there's things around the outside edge that are uniquely you. And you've got to start to articulate that stuff. So I think if any one thing we can do right now is, number one, have a list. Number two, articulate what we do and how we do it. And then number three, make sure we pause and let people ask questions. Because what's happening, guys, is there's a lot of people have a lot of questions and they don't know who to ask. You can become a resource for that. This is why people that are doing this right now, getting really clear on what they've got and making sure they're adding value to the market, they're the ones that people are going to grab onto and say, hey, give me a little tug. They're the ones that are going to say, hey, I need what you got. Or, hey, I've got questions about that. Or, hey, I'm stuck like that too. So if you are stuck right now and you don't know the next 2 or 3 things you need to be doing to take your business to the next level, we need to talk. Do you see the difference in that type of phrasing versus, hey guys, I'm #1 real estate agent in my market and you should use me? Or let's go straight at EXP. EXP has this and 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 this. Oh yeah, and by the way, we're #1, which means all of you people suck. Even though I'm not saying that, I'm implying all of you suck because we're #1, which means you're the first loser, or the second loser, or the third loser, or the fourth loser, right? Get a little Ricky Bobby in here. If you're not winning, you're the first loser. Second place is the first loser, right? So we've got to start thinking of ourselves as like, if I promote myself and it makes other people feel bad, that's not ideal. How many people are going to want to join you if you make them feel bad? How many people are going to want to work with you if you make them feel bad? So what I want to do is I want to make them feel empowered. Guys, if you don't know where your next deal is coming from, we need to talk. That's an easy fix. We need to talk. If you don't know where this brokerage is going or your brokerage is going, and you're concerned about your future and you're looking for leadership right now to say, I'm with you, I've got you, you're going to be fine, we should talk. Because there are people out there that are lost right now, guys. Okay, so 1, list. Okay, number 2 is the thing we got to get really good at, is doing presentation. Okay, guys, I got the same listing presentation I have now that I had 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 14 years ago, 16 years ago. My listing presentation is super simple. Okay, I would sit down, talk through some market data information, make sure they understood what the market was actually doing, because it's important they understand what the overall market's doing. And I say, typically when I sit down with people doing this, there's 3 things that are important. Number 1, what is the price you set on your house? How much is your house worth? Good question. Yep, we're going to answer that. That's number 1. We'll get into that first. Second thing is, how much is it going to cost for you to sell the house? So you know what dollars you get to keep at the closing table. Good number, right? Yeah, good. And then the third thing is, if I'm the right guy for the job of selling the house, and by the time we get through 1 and 2, you're probably already going to know the answer to 3. So I'll let you ask any questions you need to at that point if you have any concern about whether I'm the right guy or not. Is there anything else that's important to you? And I shut up. And guys, 90% of the time, they didn't have anything. There was nothing else that was important to them, right? So when we're looking at this buyer's brokerage information, so forth, it's like, well, I need to be really clear with you on exactly what we're doing here, exactly what I do and what you do. And all we're going to do is we're going to make sure that you understand what my job is, and you understand what your role is on this, so we can have a smooth transaction and get you to the closing table without a bunch of excitement and a bunch of things on fire. Does that sound fair? And the buyer's like, yeah, that's what I want. My job is to help build a smooth transaction. There's a bunch of steps that go into this. I'm going to make sure you're clear on what I do, and I'm going to make sure we're clear on what you do. Sound fair? Any other questions? Nope. Cool. Let me get into the info real quick. Okay, and I can start presenting this. So what I want to do with the buyer consultation, guys, and this is super important, is I want to figure out, where are they at now, where do they want to be, and how are they going to get there? Just those 3 things, right? Where are you at now? Where do you want to be? And how are you going to get there? Here's how I draw that. Can you guys see this down in the bottom corner? Where are you at now? Where do you want to be? And how are you going to get there? Okay. My job is to show you how you're going to get there. And then we're going to build that conversation of how we help you make that transition from point A to point B. So guys, here's the fun part. This is what you do in a listing agreement, listing presentation. Where are you at now? Where do you want to be? How are you going to get there? Buyer, where are you at now? Oh, I'm living in this crappy house. Great. Where do you want to be? I want to live in a less crappy house. Cool. How are you going to get there? So a lot of people say, well, your job is to build the bridge and close the gap. My job is actually to exfoliate the bridge and expand the gap. So they start to see me as the way to help them go from point A to point B. So this sales process is actually kind of interesting. This is where we fit into this, right? This, how are you going to get there? If I can show you 2 or 3 things that'll help you get what you want, are we good? And they'll say yes. See, this whole conversation is about them, guys. What we're going to find in the real estate industry is people are going to make a list of what they do, and then they're going to present the list of what they do. I don't want you to just go out and present a list of what you do. What I want you to do is I want you to ask them where they are now, where they want to be, and then we're going to discuss how they're going to get there. And by the way, based on that, here are the things that I do to help you become this guy. Do you see the subtle shift in going in and saying, it's about me, and here's what I do, and I do this, and I do that, and I do the other thing, and I do this, and I do that, and I do the other thing? That's what most people are going to do in this industry, because that's the way they've been taught, right? What I'm teaching you, and I want to train you and get you moving on the right direction, is let's get really clear on what they want. Okay, so what are we trying to accomplish here? What are we trying to do? Where are you trying to go? When are we trying to get that? What does that look like? What will it feel like when you get to the point where we've got that house and you've got your family moved in? What will that feel like? Okay, good. So this is what we're going for. So based on what you told me about where you are now and where you want to be, I've got a couple of things that'll help you get what you want and you get what you need. So let me roll out those things that help you get what you want. Sound fair? Yes. Cool. Now I can start telling them some of the things on the list, but only the things that help them get there. Good? So it's a shift of being about you and being about them. Okay? Massive shift. Okay? And then the agreement part, guys, this buyer's brokerage agreement thing is way more simple than a lot of people are making it out to be. How many of you guys have actually used a buyer's brokerage agreement? Yeah. Well, it's two things that make this way easier, guys. So good. I'm glad some of you guys put your hand up. Okay. So two things that are important. Number one is that if you're working with people that are part of your tribe, like you just ask them and they're like, okay. There's very, very little pushback when you're working with people that are part of your tribe. If I've added value consistently and they see me as their expert, guys, it's super, super easy. Then they'll say, well, Russ, but what if you're working with strangers? Actually, you know what? Working with strangers is actually probably even more important. And here's the reason why. I'm working with strangers. It's like, hey, Carlos, I don't really know you that well and you don't know me that well. So when you're doing business with people you don't know really well, it's really important to put things in writing so we're really clear on what I do and what you do. Wouldn't you agree? And Carlos goes, that's a damn good point. Because people like, well, Russ, if I don't know them, they're telling me no. It's like, listen, guys, here's the deal. I want you to start thinking of this whole buyer's brokerage agreement and this whole arrangement. I want you to think of it, number one, just like a listing agreement. Like, would you list a house with no agreement? No, because there's a bunch of rules against it. Would you buy a house with a buyer without an agreement? No, because there's a bunch of rules against it. Coming up very soon to a theater near you. Guys, it's literally the same thing. But realistically, I want you to start thinking of the business as relational, not transactional, right? I have a relationship with my tribe. That's why when stuff goes down, I got people that'll stand behind me and stand in front of me and stand around me when stuff's going down. That's what part of having a tribe is, right? I also want to make sure I'm thinking of this like a relationship, okay? Rebecca, I think you're an amazing woman. I would like to marry you, but you don't have to be married to me. Well, wait a second. I'm married to her, but she's not married to me. Would you do that? Like, no, listen, guys, I know there's some people that have unique relationships. She's not one of them. And by the way, your husband said no. Okay. But like, you're already in a committed relationship, right? And when you start thinking of it like this, it's like, she's amazing. I think she's great. She's already married. It's like, I'm not going to get into a marriage with her. She's already married, right? But when you start thinking of business isn't that different, guys. And when you start relating it to things they know, hey, listen, you're married to your wife, right? Yeah. She's married to you, right? So you're committed to her and she's committed to you, or you're committed to him and he's committed to you, or whatever your relationship is, right? That's what a marriage is, right? I want you to think of this just like a marriage. And here's the fun part. Like, I'm going to be committed to you and you're going to be committed to working with me. And if it's not both go in both directions, then it's not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for me. Does that make sense? So I only get into business relationships where we're both committed to the process. And listen, if I'm not doing my job, I expect you to divorce me. If you're not doing your job, you better expect to get divorced. Just like a marriage. And people start going, you know what, that kind of makes sense. Right? It's when we don't make sense and we make it weird and we're scared to ask. Well, could you maybe, possibly, if you could find it in your heart, and it's like, just get to the freaking point, guys. The more you kick it around and the more you waffle around this thing and you don't go straight at it and you don't act with confidence and speak with confidence and ask with confidence, you're going to find that people are going to do wonky, waffly things because they're going to feel like there's room. It's like, listen, I do not now. And by the way, this should be 1,000 times easier now. By the way, now everybody requires every buyer to have a brokerage agreement. So we're already doing this. We've already been doing this. This is just a normal course of business. We don't get into business transactions with somebody we don't have a commitment from. You shouldn't get into a business transaction with somebody you don't have a commitment with. Okay, so other additional buyer brokerage things that come up. Well, nobody's ever asked me to do that before, Carlos. Okay, so you've never worked with a real estate professional that's an expert. Got it. Cool. Thank you for letting me know that. But this is the way all of the professionals do business. Because none of the professionals get into a relationship with somebody in a business without having it in writing. Does that make sense? Okay, so there's a number of different things you can use as objection handlers as you go through this. And part of that is if you're continuing to add value up front when you say stuff like that, people go, oh, makes sense. If they see you as their expert and you as the person that can get them from point A to point B, guys, they're going to sign anything and everything. You barely have to get the ask out of your mouth. They're like, yeah, send it over, man. Let's sign it, right? Because they see you as their expert. So let's make this transition here real quick to let's make this transition to attraction. Are we cool with that, Carlos? Are you good? Just nod your head. Attraction, good. Okay. So here's the thing, guys. This attraction thing is absolutely the same stuff. See, here's the thing. A lot of people look at it as different. You're like, but Russ, no, it's different. No, it's not, right? Because all I'm going to do when I'm sitting down with a person and doing attraction is I walk them through this recipe. Hey, Carlos, where are you at now? Hey, Rebecca, where are you at now? Where do you want to be? How are you going to get there? If I can show you 2 or 3 things that can help you get there, do you want to play? Uh-huh. Do you think by working with me and working with us and working with our tribe and being around our tribe, you're more likely to get here? Yeah? Good. Hit the damn join button. That is the very, very simplified version of this conversation, guys. But when we get into this attraction conversation, a lot of people say, well, let me tell you how great I am. Let me tell you how great we are. And let me tell you how great Carlos is. We work with Carlos. And let me tell you how great Rebecca is. And let me tell you how great EXP is. And in reality, like, this guy doesn't really care, right? This guy only wants to be here. So let's start over and let's start these conversations over and start it over differently, right? So I want you to follow this simple recipe, okay? A1, where are you at now? Okay, so I'm just going to ask them, where are you now? Okay, where are you at now? And then I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let them tell me. And if they don't actually spit stuff out real fast and they're kind of dragging with it a little bit, then I can prompt them with a couple questions like, hey, what do you like doing? What do you not like doing? What's working for you? What's not working for you? Part of the reason I ask that question the way I ask that question, guys, is I want them to show me who they are. If I ask them an open-ended question like that, they're going to tell me who they are, and they're going to tell me what's important to them. Or they're going to ask a question to clarify, to figure out what's important to them. So I'll have people respond with something like, well, what do you need to know? Okay, let's tell me a little about your business. What's working, what's not working? And they'll talk a little bit more, right? With regards to what? Well, with regards to making dollars, because we're in business to make money. Are you making, well, let's go straight to it. Are you making enough dollars right now? The answer is probably no. Typically, if the answer is yes, you already know them and you already know that, right? Chances are there's a no, right? What do you like doing? What do you not like doing? What you'll find is that some people are like, well, you know what? This business isn't what I thought it was. I didn't realize that I was going to sit in an office and they were going to tell me to be a telemarketer all day. Listen, guys, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm not saying don't do those techniques. I'm not saying that cold calling and so forth is bad. I'm just simply saying that the majority of real estate agents come into this business never in their lifetime thinking about getting into the business thought they were going to be cold calling people. And they're like, you know what? I want to cold call people. I'm going to become a real estate agent. That's a very, very small cross section of people that will do that. So you've got a bunch of people come into the industry that are disenfranchised because they didn't realize they're going to have to do that to do the part that they like. Right? So if you are here and you don't know how to get sales and business coming to you without having to do the things that you don't love to do, I could show you a couple of ways to get here without having to do the cold calling. Would you like to see that? Well, do I have your attention now? Heck yeah, for a lot of them, right? So I want to ask them what's working, what's not working. It's going to tell me what they're doing and not doing. Okay. What do you like to do? What do you not like to do? Okay. So this person says, I hate pistachio ice cream. You're like, well, let me tell you, we've got this amazing food that you eat at the end of dinner, and it's called pistachio ice cream. Would you like some of that? And they're like, no, dude, I just told you I hate that crap, right? So in their recipe on how to get here, you better not have freaking pistachio ice cream in there. Okay, so it's really important as we're going through this process when we're talking with buyers and we're talking with sellers and we're talking with agents, it's all the same conversation. Where are you at now? Where are you trying to go? How are you going to get there? If I could show you 2 or 3 things to help you get where you want to go, do you want to talk about that? Yeah, great. So are you willing to do this? And I'm going to pull one of the things that they said they like to do. We'll show you how to do that at a higher level. Does that make sense? Yes. Do you think you're more likely to get there if I helped you do that? Yeah, cool. Hit the join button. Okay, so here's the thing, guys, and this is something that I just started doing recently, and if you guys have seen this, I want to I want to ask for forgiveness, but I think you could probably watch this 50 times, because the 50 times that I've done this, every time I do it, it comes out a little bit different, because it's just always the situation and the feel and the flavor of what we start with. It's really important that we understand in the real estate business, particularly when we're going into this attraction thing, that everyone is somewhere on this curve. Everyone is somewhere on this curve. And if I can get really clear on where they are on this curve by talking through it like this, all I'm doing is saying, okay, question, what do you like to do? What do you not like to do? What's working? What's not working? How many houses did you sell in the last 12 months? How many dollars did you make? How many houses do you want to sell? How many dollars do you want to make? Guys, there's a lot of times when I ask somebody how much money they want to make and how many houses they want to sell, they don't know the answer. They can tell you the money number, but they don't know how many houses that is. Right? Okay, so based on that, with an average sales price of and an average commission of, you're going to need to do 20 sales to make 200 grand. 200 grand, 20 sales. Okay, here's the thing, guys. In the real estate industry, we got to realize, and by the way, this works outside the real estate industry. This works for car sales. This works for building a plumber business. Pretty much almost every business that you got to generate money to keep your world going on. The first phase in most people's businesses are all about the dollars. Okay, that's phase one. It's like, I'm doing whatever it takes to get the money going. I got into the real estate business. Why? Because I wanted to make more money. And I probably wanted more freedom. So it's freedom and money are the top two things after interviewing thousands of agents, guys. They're like, I want more money and I want more freedom. The problem is in the real estate business, the freedom makes it so that they don't do their job and they don't make any money because they got too much freedom and they're exercising it. Exercising freedom after you make the dollars, it makes it a little easier to make more money, right? But a lot of the drive is about dollars. So you got to understand there's a huge portion and cross-section of the real estate business that will say, when I interview them, they'll say, I want to make 100 grand a year. Excuse me. I want to make 100 grand a year. Cool. What are you willing to get there, right? This guy over here, he's like, I want to make 100. Where are you at now? 30. Great. So you want to make $70,000 a year. Good. So what are you going to do with that money when you get it? What does that do? What does that change? See, they tell me what they want, but I want to get to what that does. Because what happens is, guys, we get stuck on this selling a drill bit. Have you guys ever seen that? You know what? Actually, I've got something right in front of me. I had this thing laying around. This thing just popped out. Do you guys know what this is? Anybody that travels a lot knows what this is. The corkscrew. It's pretty cool, right? And you stick the little arm in there, and now I got a little, use the little arm thing, right? And by the way, you can travel with this on an airplane. I said to the guy at TSA, I'm like, you're going to let me travel with this, but you won't let me travel with the thing with the little foil cutter on the back of it? He's like, no. I was like, have you ever seen John Wick? He started laughing. That dude stabbed the crap out of a bunch of people with just two corkscrews, right? It's like, this can be used for good or for evil, right? Did anybody ever buy a corkscrew because they wanted a corkscrew? No, they wanted to open a bottle of wine, right? So what you're not selling is like, would you like to buy a corkscrew? No. And you're like, would you like me to show you something that'll help you get into that bottle of wine easier? See, we're not selling the thing, we're selling what the thing does, right? And then there's a thing behind that, which is, why do they want that, right? So it's not only just open the bottle of wine, it's like, why are you drinking wine tonight anyway? Are you celebrating? Are you trying to forget the crap of the day, right? There's a couple different reasons for that. So if you're trying to forget the crap of the day and you need something to slow you down a little bit, maybe a bottle of wine will do for you. And in order to have that, you need to get into it with one of these. This is secondary or tertiary to what's really going on. Nobody ever bought a drill bit. They wanted a hole. And in order to get a hole, you need a drill bit to make the hole. But what is the hole for? The hole is to hang a clock on the wall so I can see what time it is. Or the hole is to hang a picture of my grandchildren, right? So there's things behind why they want the thing that they want the thing. And we got to get into that with the real estate agent. So what happens if you make 100 grand a year? Guys, for most real estate agents, that's game changer, life changer, world changer, generation changer. That's generational shift. Adding $100,000 a year to a family income times 20 years is $2 more million. If they say money can't buy happiness, bullshit. You had $2 million more to a family over the next 20 years. You gave them a lot of ability to do a lot of things, right? They don't have to make every decision based on dollars. They probably got to take a trip or two. They've got to experience some things. They didn't have to suffer and not be and suffer and be hungry, right? I mean, some of you guys have been in spots where like you didn't have enough. I've heard some of the stories, right? I remember Mike Collier telling the story about being on the verge of bankruptcy. 100 grand a year, that's a game changer, right? That gives him a sense of pride, gives him the ability to hold his head up, gives him the ability to stand proud as a father and as a son and as a husband. There's a lot more to this, right? But so this is the first phase. The problem is most real estate agents get stuck. I think national average, and I'm still waiting to see an actual official, national average right now is $54,000 per agent. It was a national average last year, year before, which means half of these people aren't where they want to be, right? So here's a story. If you got into this business and you wanted to make 100 grand a year and you don't know how to get there doing what you're doing, aligned with who you're aligned with, we should talk. Because I know if you hang out with Rebecca, she'll get you to 100 grand, right? You hang out with Carlos and do some of the basics. He'll help you get to 100 grand, right? We have a track record helping people get from here to here. Well, here's the fun part. When people get to this point and they finally start making the money that they want to make, what do? They move the playing field, right? Mike Collier, I can't see you here on this thing, but nod your head for everybody else if they can see you. Once you made 100, what did you do? You moved the damn bar, right? Now you're like, now I want to make 200. And then you make 200, you're like, shoot, should have gone for 4, right? And then at some point, you get to the point where you're consistently controlledly, well, I butchered that word. What is that in Spanish? Probably a better word. In control of my destiny and my income. Once I get that, then the next step is really important to understand, guys. And that is now people want their time back. Okay, so once you get to the money number and you're secure in the number and you've got a controllable way of generating that number consistently, then the next thing people focus on is time. Because see, down here, they're like, what are you willing to do? I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Okay, cool. So then to do whatever it takes, they get to that number and then they're like, all right, I don't want to work every evening. I don't want to work every weekend. I don't want to have every dinner interrupted and every time at the restaurant interrupted. And every time I try to go on vacation, I get dragged into 40 conversations and I'm never actually really off. I'm just not working from home. I might be on vacation, but I'm just working wherever I go on vacation. Okay. They want their time back. Okay. So think of it like this, guys. If somebody's here, think about the sales process for somebody that's here. Okay. Looks something like this. Carlos, so your first goal, most important thing is you said you wanted to be here. You want to make 100 grand a year. Yeah, good. Well, here's the fun thing. Once we get you to that 100 grand a year and you do that consistently for a little while, you're going to probably move the bar and you're going to bet 200. And then the next thing you're going to be doing is saying, hey, wait a minute, I don't want to work every evening and weekend. So, hey, check this out. Instead of let's just working on the number and I'll do whatever it takes, why don't we work on number 1 and number 2 at the same time? So when you get to the number, you already have the time thing handled. So if we could build a business where you make the money and you don't have to work 80 hours a week, are you good? Now you're starting to future pace them guys and they're starting to go, wait a minute, this guy's thinking about next level stuff. It didn't even occur to me to do that at the same time. I know you're going to want to do this, so we might as well just build it into your business now. Now, listen, you're going to have to work a little bit harder for a little while, but in the process, we want to have the ultimate goal is to be making this amount of money and working 40 hours a week or less. Cool? And they'll go, that's what I like. And we're doing the same thing when we're working with sellers and the same thing we're working with buyers. Here's the thing, guys. Part of the reason I have a managed contractor list is because I know when we do a listing, something in your house is going to break between now and the time we get this thing to the closing table. And when we have the inspection, they're going to come out and they're going to find a bunch of little nickel and dime crap. So if that does happen and we need to negotiate that, guys, I have 2 options. We can negotiate it, throw some money at it, or secondly, we can actually work on getting that fixed. And I've got a preferred list of people to help take that pain off. If it's just a little bit of caulk and a couple of GFIs and a double tap in the panel and that one window balancer that never freaking works, it pops up when you put the window down. If it's just that stuff, my guy typically take care of that stuff for $400 or $500. It's done. Matter of fact, we should have them come in and just handle that stuff now. So when we do the inspection, there's nothing left. And they're like, oh, didn't even think of that, right? So this is about future pacing them on what that next level is. So here's the thing, guys. once people get to the point where they have the money that they want consistently and they've got their time in balance, then the next thing that starts crossing their mind is, how do I stop doing this? Phase 3 is, how do I get to the point where I don't have to trade time for money anymore? And by the way, I don't know if you guys know, but there's this company called EXP that has this brilliant little thing that helps start adding things to this. While you're doing this and this, you're already doing things and getting things that are helping you set yourself up for that exit plan. So why not have some things in place now while you're doing this and this to get the exit plan to come up a little bit closer? How many of you guys want to work until you die? True story, guys. My father-in-law worked for a guy named Ken Cook. Ken Cook was an amazing person, worked for GE as a high-level executive for a number of years, and he's been at the Lawrence Tech University here outside of Detroit for a number of years. Ken Cook is 80-ish, plus or minus, right? Ken Cook passed away last week, which is hard. It's hard for me to see for my father-in-law, because I know my father-in-law really loved this guy and really admired this guy and really respected this guy. And my father-in-law at 77 still goes to the university every week because he got to see Ken. Ken was his buddy, right? Ken was an amazing human being, did some amazing things and left a really cool legacy, right? But the thing is Ken didn't have something else to work on. So that was him working on his legacy. He didn't need the money anymore. He didn't need the money for years. But for Ken, once he got to that exit point, he got that number that he needed to be able to not have to work. He stayed because he wanted to build a legacy. This is phase 4 in a lot of people's lives, right? They stay because they want to build a legacy. Like, I don't need the money anymore. I got that point. Okay. I can stop working today and live the rest of my life and not have to make any more money. I can make it to the end. Okay. That's the exit point. How many of you guys want that to be at 82, 83, 85? Because guys, a lot of realtors don't retire, they die. 2 reasons. Number one, a big part of the reason is they still have that money thing. They still never got past that money thing. Okay. They still need to generate income to be able to make the move. Right. So what we're selling here is not just that person making more money. It's that person making more money and controlling their time and setting themselves up where they got a shot to actually get out of this stupid thing. They choose to be there, not they have to be there. Big difference, right? So most of you guys are like, I want to retire before I'm 60. Cool. That's what we're working on, right? And then after that, we're like, what am I going to do with myself? I'm going to build a legacy, right? How many people's lives can I change? So here's the fun part, guys. In the process of building within the EXP ecosystem, and one of the things I love about the EXP ecosystem is this legacy thing. We call that rev share. Right? Every single person that I add into my revenue share organization is helping me build my legacy. But wait, there's more. There's this 5th level, and this 5th level is legacy. And you might be like, Russ, come on, man. Like, that's 4. Yes, this is 4, me building my legacy. Once I get to the point where I've got my legacy, then the next level for me is me helping you guys build your legacy. This is internal facing. This is external facing. So you'll hear people like Gene Fredericks. You'll hear people like Scott Lewis. You'll hear people like Brent Gove. Why is Brent still doing it? Right? They'll say something like, I want to help 100 people make over $1 million a year. Help other people build their legacy. So guys, when you start looking at this process in buyers and sellers, and you look at this process with agents and attraction, the key is that you guys start saying, if I could help you build a plan where you can have 1, 2, 3, and 4 all being tagged at the same time, and then when you get that one, then you can work on 5. If I could show you a way to do that, would you be more interested in doing that? See, because there's some people that are here, and there's some people that are here, and there's some people that are here, and there's some people that are here. Anywhere you're at on this curve, you want to talk about the spot you're at, let's get that working, and then what's the next one? Oh yeah, and by the way, we can also help you with this one and this one as a byproduct of working on the first 2. Sound good? Is that what you want? So now you're helping them understand that they're building a legacy now. It's not just selling houses. It's not just getting that paycheck. It's not just trading time for money. It's not just balancing. It's all of it at the same time. So part of you building your tribe is building a tribe of people that do that. Good? How was that?
Love
Good?
it. Love it. Absolute fire. And man, I saw so many people leaning in and just they couldn't get their phase away from what you were dropping, Russ. So that was absolutely awesome. Guys, I mean, mindset is first, like Russ said, making sure you have the right mindset. Stay close to the fire. I'm going to share something with you here in a moment as well that will equip you. But staying close to the fire means you find out and you adapt. And yes, like Russ said, we are building the tunnel as well. And we are being innovative and proactive and making sure that we take advantage of the opportunities ahead of us, because it's going to be huge advantage. One thing that I wanted to remind you guys of is a resource that we have available. And it's interesting because we have this resource in 2 flavors, right? And one flavor I swore by, use it, have leveraged it. My entire career has been a game changer, promoted and tell people to do it to the T, right? The second flavor, and I'm doing it in this incognito way, just to not give it away so you understand, but just so you know where this is coming from. The second portion has been a portion that I told people absolutely go through it so that you understand the mindset of that process, but we don't have to do it. We don't have to. You understand the mindset, you understand how to leverage it, you understand, you gain a lot of insight from this side, but we don't have to do it. So you use bits and pieces from it. What am I talking about? Talking about the Certified Expert Advisor certification. It has 2 sides. It has the seller side, which I've sworn by for years, built my listing career on the back of that, and I do it to the T. The seller side, I've always told people I do it exactly the way it's there. The buyer side, I always told people, like, may seem, but really, are we going to have buyers sign a buyer agency agreement and, go through our value, like Ro was saying, and go over the list? And I saw people in the chat asking for the list. Well, that's why I wanted to share this resource, because the Certified Expert Advisor certification, which is in the Global Alliance University, provides you with the handles to the luggage. It gives you the list, your full value proposition as an agent. It gives you the questions to ask to properly qualify the buyer, to consult with the buyer, to add massive value, and to align you as the expert that you need to be, and to leverage, what Russ taught us today, which is, hey, if it's a family, a friend, or something, it's like, hey, listen, sign this here. We're working together. This outlines the services that I'm going to provide with you. If it's somebody you don't know, you tell them, hey, listen, wouldn't you want to know what you get by working with me? Let me show you. I'm going to show you the smart home buying strategy. And you leverage that piece, and that's in the Global Alliance University for you guys to take advantage of. The attraction side, I mean, you can't have a director of growth without bringing some massive attraction fire, and Russ brought it. Super amazing. And guys, that's why you want to tune in here. That's why you want to stay plugged in, and that's why you want to stay close to the fire. Rebecca, what were some of your thoughts on today?
Honestly, I love the whole part about attracting your tribe, right? And even when it comes down to your buyers, if they're not willing to fill the buyer brokerage agreement, which a lot of us I know are hesitant to use it because we think we're going to lose the client, you're probably going to lose them anyways. How many times have we spun our wheels with a client who we thought we had them in the bag? We spent all this time touring them around town, and at the last minute, you send over the contract and they signed with someone else. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
How did that even happen? But it's up to us to secure that client. And so now more than ever, we have to lean into these things. We have to adjust. We have to embrace change. And it's something that's always existed, but now we have to put it into place so that we can secure our buyers, so we can secure our commissions, and we have transparency. So I really love that. And then, of course, attracting your tribe goes along with everything else. Even down to the newest agent who may be a little bit scared of attracting agents to the business. I look at it like, hey, listen, if I love a restaurant, I don't need to know everything about that restaurant. I just invite them, or I just tell them, hey, you got to check this restaurant out. I've already recruited them and I didn't get anything in return for that. So I love my company. I share with everyone. If they're interested, then hey, listen, let me connect you with my partners. And so it's so easy to start sharing it that way and then pointing them to the very training that our company offers, the training that our Global Alliance offers, being on these gap calls each week, the Global Alliance University, which I did share the link in the chat there. We have so many resources to keep agents trained, to be able to sharpen their skills and keep them in front of their clients, right? And at the sharpest agent in front of their clients. So I love this conversation, Russ. Thank you so much. I just appreciate it. I don't know if we have any questions in the chat from anyone who may want to.
No, I didn't see any questions. And since we're a little bit over time, I would say, guys, hit up Russ over in work chat. Hit us up if you have any questions. If you want to bring Russ back for another session, let me know and we'll make that happen. We'll schedule it. But for today, one last reminder, the bill at c24.com, guys, those tickets are going fast. We have a price that is the early bird rate still going on, and you want to take advantage of that. Bill at c24.com. Take advantage of that opportunity. It's another opportunity to get close to the fire and level up your game. So, and have a lot of fun while you're at it. Russ, thank you as always. Appreciate you, my friend. Russ has a Keycast YouTube channel as well, with a lot of resources and content, and a lot of different scripts and strategies. Russ, how do they find you on YouTube?
Just Russ Laggan on YouTube. Yeah, Russ Laggan Real Estate. Super easy stuff. And by the way, guys, when you look at my YouTube channel, I get it. I'm not super tech savvy, but it's in the process of getting cleaned up. I'm going to get serious with it again. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in there, a bunch of different resources, and just more of the conversation and how to make it make sense to people. Make it simple. It'll make more sense.
Love it. Well, that's it, guys, for today. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you.